So here to talk through this Nurikabe by Worms of Can called One Magic Square. That's where these center clues that are a form of a traditional magic square are key, and the 5 in the center of that magic square is the most constrained spot I'm seeing right at the start because it's got 4 more white cells it can take, getting to a total of 5, but given all the islands around, this pattern's required. The 1 is complete, and connectivity gives us this cell and this cell and this cell around that plus. One more clue that we know just between these touching islands, but otherwise we get to this sort of starting point. The big numbers look sort of interesting, like this 8 has enough space to take some of it, but may have to come to an edge. The 9 has a fair number of cells, but may have to come to an edge. But this 7 is really, really crowded. And one thing that I want to sort of show you, and it's a key thing in some Nurikabes, is when an island is going to reach to an edge, and it looks like the 7 has to reach to an edge, what that now does is isolate the ocean path for connectivity. So this ocean up here can't come to the right and around this island anymore. And so it has to now take the other path around the grid, which is up and left and over to the spot if the 7 touches an edge. So how do we show that this doesn't touch an edge? Well, there are only these 7 interior cells that are possible for it. If it took all of those, it would isolate this ocean here. But it's even the case I can't take this cell. If I just look at this cell, that moves the 2 to the left and I isolate this ocean. So this is impossible. If I take this cell from the 7 clue, however that 7 goes, I again move the 2 over here and isolate this ocean. So this also can't be reached by the 7. So at the start, I have a pattern like this, and I also know this 7 touches the edge. So I'll just sort of mark this in just for the sake of visibility. That touching an edge means now I can't have this 9 reaching any edge of the grid. If it does any of these things, this bottom ocean is blocked on the right side by the 7 islands, blocked on the other side by this 9 island. And so this 9 must use 9 of the 10 cells I've marked in green. It can't take this cell because then again the 4 is going to isolate it. It can use this cell because the 4 has still some options around it even if this comes in. So the one thing we can say, though, is where the 9 is limited to be interior with the ocean going around it, the ocean for sure takes the edges. And when the ocean takes the edges, an island has to hug near to it because in this cell, for sure, and actually when I mark this in this cell for sure, we're going to have a 2 by 2 rule. So there's some of this shape we can give. This is a 9 island cell, this is a 9 island cell, this is a 9 island cell. All of these are oceans, and that's just based off the crowding of the grid and one edge being touched right here by the 7 island. Looking back at this 2, if this 2 came over to the left, we'd form a real issue over here. So the 2 has to go to the right. Putting that in means that the 7 has to take this channel on the far right of the grid to get to hitting this potential 2 by 2 square. 6 cells get us to this space, so we can never reach to this cell, which means we take this one. This is for connectivity. Completing the only 7 island path that's valid looks like this. I'm trying to see what more I can do. I was thinking about sort of edges with the 9. Let's see if I can do something around this 8 to maybe help us here. And this is not directly from the 8, it's more from this 3 below. If this 3 comes up here, then this 8 has to take this cell or this cell. Whichever of those it takes is now on another edge of the grid. And so I've got an edge bound here and an edge bound here, and this ocean is trapped. So it looks like the first thing to really do on the top of this puzzle is recognize this must be ocean. That means this must be island. Makes this ocean. And now this 4 is somewhat constrained. Can this 4 not take an edge over on this left? It looks like the space for it is that, but again, that's going to interact with this 9 clue, and so we can't take all of these cells here. If I even take these 3 cells, I don't have the connection working out. So in all scenarios, it seems when we take this 9, the 4 is going to take one of these cells on the edge. And what that means is now the ocean is not along the border here. The ocean has to be in the interior here. So we need to get ocean between this 4 and this 9. So we always take this cell. That now limits where these are only the 9 cells left for this. The ocean continues to come over. Ocean continues here. We don't know how we get sort of over to the edge, but the ocean is again on the interior. The island is on the exterior, touching the border. So this is how that forces. 3 comes in here. These get marked off. We get another island on an edge, so this will have to be the 8. So this island will always take the border all the way around until it's close to this space. The ocean is now one interior, doing that same tracking. This finishes that 8 island. Get this cell now also on an edge. It's going to have to be part of the 6, which will have to take this efficient path. The ocean for connectivity uses this cell, and the last cell of the 6 completes the grid. So a really great Nurikabe from wormsofcan. It very much took one of the extreme logic steps that people hopefully get very familiar with, of how islands near edges mean ocean in event, one in, or ocean required along edge means island always in. And knowing this 7 touches a border forces this 9 and this 8 to do interesting things. And so the logical path follows from seeing that seed and then working around the grid in different ways. So hopefully this video gave you some sense of how to use the border rules when islands are touching them or when oceans are touching them to get some forced path around them, even when the islands weren't known for sure. Like getting all of these ocean cells marked is one of the key steps in this early stage of the puzzle. And if you know how to do those sorts of steps, you'll be good not just with this grid, but with a lot of other Nurikabe. So hope you learned something through this video, and we'll see you again soon.